All right, here we go. So we're gonna move into, in your guide, we're gonna move into practicing reflective listening, which starts on page 63 in your book. And again, keep page 58 kind of in your back pocket when we do some of what we're gonna do next. All right. So this time we are gonna form groups of 3. And I wouldn't mind if one group of 3 stayed in the room, just so Bob had something to listen to, and we'll pull one of those chairs over for another group of 3. And we're gonna do 3 rounds. And I have to read some of this because I have to keep it locked in my head as to what this looks like, because each round you switch what you do, but your number of who you are stays the same. So we're going to do 3 rounds of sharing. So each person's going to have a chance to do each of the roles. Okay. And your sharing situations are on focus note 4 on page 63. So one of you, once you get in your groups, one of you is going to tell what you enjoyed doing on your last vacation. Another person is going to tell about a time in the last few months when you felt especially happy. And the last person is going to tell about a time when you really needed God's presence and help. So when you get together, decide if you want to talk about question 1. Somebody else is going to pick question 2. And somebody else is going to pick question 3. And I'll give you a couple minutes to think about which one in the group feels most comfortable with whatever question. And then I'll kind of tell you how we're going to move forward. Let me just scooch forward a second. So the person who chose situation 1 is person A till the end of these little role plays. The person who chose situation or question 2, you are person B. And the person who chose situation 3, you are person C. So you can even write those letters behind question 1, question 2, question 3. All right? So here's what we need to do. This is your first round. Person A, once you decide, person A is going to tell what you did on your last vacation. Person B, who chose question 2, is going to listen and reflect. So use page 58 if you need it. And person C is going to note the examples of the kind of listening and reflecting that they noticed person B doing while person A is speaking. Does that make sense? All right. You can take your book with you. Might want to take a pen or a pencil with you. Might want to jot some things down as you're doing your listening. Not necessarily the listening, but the observing. And then we'll kind of regroup and we'll work our way through another one. So every time we'll kind of come back together, talk about it a little bit, and then we'll move on and do the next one.
How much time
Okay.
do you want each one of these?
Each one of these is going to take about 4 minutes, 3-4 minutes.
And then you'll tell us.
Yep, and then I'll tell you. I'll time it each time. Okay?
You guys can pick, because I'll do any of the 3.
So you think you have chairs out there. Just a minute before you start.
I'll do A.
We're all gonna do one, we're all gonna do 2, we're all gonna do
No, we're
3,
not.
right?
No.
Are we
No.
doing this one?
No.
Oh, I missed it.
We're all,
Can you help?
like, I'm gonna choose to talk about this one,
Yep.
and then Steve's saying he'll talk about any of them, so do you wanna talk about 2 or talk about 3?
Let me just, can I read back to you one thing before you
So you're the
start?
observer.
I'll do the 3. So
Okay.
that
Oh,
means
I'll wait.
the observer.
I'll let you pick, and then I have one thing I want to read to you
So I gotta
just
talk about
as a
what I've been
reminder.
Okay.
Okay, can I read one thing to you a minute?
Yep.
Yep.
Good. So just be thinking about this too, that there are two kinds of information you can reflect back to your care receiver. The content of what they're talking about, and also feelings you might be observing. So content can include the who, the what, the why, the when, the where, the how. The feelings could include emotions, body language. The content and the feelings could be emotional things, relational things, spiritual concerns. There's no set pattern for how a person will share their content or their feelings. And as you reflectively listen, keep in mind that your goal is not to fix, just to listen. Okay? With a little bit of conversation and question asking.
Yeah, so how we go.
All right, so
She's talking, I'm listening, I'm talking, you're listening, you're talking.
person A is the speaker. Tell what you did on your last vacation. Person B is listening and reflecting.
I go
Person
through it.
C is observing and taking notes as to what they're hearing.
I'm always B, you're always C. A talks to B, C observes. B talks to C, A observes. C talks to, or, C talks to A, B observes. I observe the third time.
Right.
So what I'm observing is how you're answering the question, how you're being reflective.
How you're reflecting to what,
So you're doing that this time. You're watching how I'm reflecting, I'm responding.
so who's A?
I'm A.
You're A, you B?
I'm B.
Okay, so you're sharing.
Yep. Okay, so what you enjoyed doing on your last vacation? The last vacation that well, there's a different one. Over Thanksgiving, Don and I spontaneously went to go visit my friend and her husband who live here in town, but they have a Christmas tree farm in Fulton, Illinois.
Oh, my goodness.
So after church on Thanksgiving, we did plan it the week before, because we had to have somewhere for our kids, you know, stuff. But they did not know we were coming. We tried to keep it a surprise. They run the Christmas tree farm in like a, sounds like a souvenir shop, where you can buy ornaments and stuff like that. So we left church, drove down there about 4 or 5 hours, and we showed up on the farm and we surprised them, and they were totally caught off guard. It was so fun. They're like, "What are you doing here?" We're like, "We're here to help."
And your kids went with you.
No, they did
Yeah,
not.
well,
So
they
we
stayed
had to
back there.
prep because Judy so graciously said she'd host Danny. It was Thanksgiving, and Ross was up visiting too, so he was kind of out of the picture. So it felt weird to leave Ann, but she, said we could go. But anyways, we wanted to do this and just surprise them and offer help. We stayed overnight, and Don helped work on the tree farm, and I worked in the store. And my friend Brenda, we walked in, and their daughter's like, "What are you doing here?" We're like, we're here to, or we heard you have ornaments for sale. And so it was so fun.
So
It was
they
so
live
fun.
here, but then they spend time over there during the holidays.
He grew up over in Fulton, Illinois. It's right along the Mississippi River.
Yep.
And his father and his brother still live there, and they run it. So he goes over there, Thanksgiving, and that weekend is where they sell most of their trees. So we've heard about it for years, and we're like, hey, we're one shelf down. We can get the other one occupied. She didn't want to come. We're like, come for an adventure. It was an adventure, wasn't it, Ben?
So I can see that you had a lot of fun doing that.
We had a
Obviously.
ton of fun.
How, was that exhilarating for you?
It was. I mean, we got on the farm, and then we were like, oh shoot, there's Emily. This was one of their kids. Of course, she's not looking for us. So we got in the store, and like I said, my girlfriend kind of came up from behind her. She was like, what are you doing here, big hug? It was so fun.
Did you feel like they pretty quickly figured out why you were there, or did you kind of have to walk them through it?
Well, they were kind of like, but we're like, hey, we're here to help. Because they always say how busy it is. And we had gotten a hotel room, and it was fun. And then I had been there earlier in the spring to help her with inventory and stuff, because my friend's mother passed away, and she did a lot of the store. So my friend kind of got thrown into the mix. But Don had never been there, and we always hear about it, year after year after year. it was fun to lay eyes on it and then roll up our sleeves and help them. So,
Excellent.
it was fun.
And they obviously appreciated it.
They
and
so
told you that.
appreciate it.
Do they have other helpers there?
Tons, some relatives, some high school kids that volunteered service hours that day because they sold on that Friday 666 trees.
That's the biggest day.
It's the biggest day.
All right, I'm
Saturday,
gonna
a
stop
little less,
you.
but
Gonna stop you.
Okay.
Person C, whoever's person C, the observer, you are gonna lead a 4-minute discussion exploring the questions in Focus Note 5. So you're gonna lead the discussion
Focus note
with the
5.
questions in Focus Note 5.
this is you.
All right, so whoever was listening, not listening, but observing, is going to lead a little discussion answering these 4 questions in your group.
So are we gonna read this out loud? or
Yep,
just-
Right.
yep, you're gonna talk
I'm
about it
gonna-
as a
I'm gonna-
small
so
group.
I lead this part, so how did the listener feel reflecting on the speaker's experiences?
So
So
Steve,
I
yep,
answer that.
yep. So whoever was the listener is answering question 1.
How did I feel reflecting on people's experiences? That's a great question.
Like, was it awkward or was it like,
No, I don't think it was awkward. I was generally interested in what you were having to say because it was a unique story. So I felt engaged. I felt the questions I asked you back weren't manufactured questions. They were part of me.
yeah,
So I guess from that context, I felt good about my reflection. I shouldn't be the one answering that question. You should tell me whether I was good about that or not.
And I would have, but I see that's coming up on
Oh.
number 3.
It'll get more.
Got it.
So I just move on here a minute. How did the speaker feel having their experiences reflected?
I felt that you were interested.
Oh yeah, well, it's a unique experience. I mean, you were talking about writing a 100-page essay. I might be a little bit different.
And this is so different because this isn't like a problem. I
No.
mean, this is,
No.
generally vacations are fun, so
Right.
it's a
But-
positive.
Project yourself into that experience with somebody you're trying to understand their situation.
Yeah.
And okay, my total focus is going to be really understanding what the situation is, what this person's going through, so that I can be the best I can be, right?
Yeah.
And that's going to
Get
be,
the, kind of the full picture
yeah,
type of a deal.
exactly.
So what I saw, question 3, what was the instant where the listener reflected well? So I saw where you were really thrilled to tell your story. And I know some of it. And I also heard some new stuff. I mean, not new stuff, but I knew that you wanted to go there for me, that my benefit too. So I knew that. So that came out. Steve listened really well. He leaned in. He did everything you're supposed to do. Then he had a sigh with a little laughter, like, this is a good story, you know, encouragement as you were happy to be telling him your happy story. He encouraged you with some expressions that prodded you on. I saw that and heard that. And then at the right time, there's a song, at the right time. But anyways, he made a comment that prodded you on also. So how did that go? What did, you know, just some, I can't answer the question, finish, but it was enough to keep you telling your story.
So I'm going to share a little experience in church here. You know, when you're meeting and talking to people and doing coffees and stuff like that, I find myself at times trying to be so engaged that I'll actually forget what they said to me 3 minutes ago. And if they drift back into that subject, I'm like, uh-oh, I can't look like I was an idiot and wasn't listening. Because I was so engaged in what they were saying next, I wasn't focusing on, I don't know if that makes sense.
Oh,
to
I
you.
do it, yeah, I know it, yes, I know exactly what you're saying.
Yes. Or also, if I'm talking to somebody and I know I gotta talk to 2 or 3 other people to try and
Now look at those 2 or 3 other people that.
segue and still be engaged and still listening to what you're saying and remembering.
Yeah.
Gotta remember.
Well, and then what you're doing too, you know, like when we're at work, we have yellow legal pad and pen, and I'm hard on that, you write it down. They told you once you write it down, you don't ask 5 more questions, you don't have it. They told you something that you needed to remember, but they didn't quit there.
Yeah.
You got 12 more things they told you, and then you gotta go back and try to, wow, that's a, I get that. What were the instances where the listener could have reflected even better? I don't have any. I'm gonna be honest with you, Steve was very interested, either was interested or he thinks.
No, there's all these reflective questions here.
All right, let's move on to skill practice 2.
Okay, so.
Person
I-
B, I'll tell you, person B is the speaker. Person C
So that's done.
is the listener.
I'm the speaker, he's the listener.
And person A is the observer. So whoever talked last time, you're just observing this time. All right? Person B, tell the listener about a recent time when you felt very happy. Person C will be reflecting what person B is communicating. Person A is looking for examples of reflective listening. And go.
Okay, so obviously the last 2 months have been very weighty here at church. And I was able to get away with some college friends last week and do a little deep sea fishing. So I felt like I could totally disconnect with what was going on here and just focus on a lot of fun. So we did a bunch of things. Went fishing 2 separate days. That was fun and exciting. We had sailfish on both days, couldn't bring it in, but it was kind of exciting and fun. We were able to play pickleball each night with a group of us. We made our own court because they only had tennis courts, so we bought tape and put the tape up.
Well, ingenuity there.
And these guys, these college friends, they're big into naps. So there was a hour in the afternoon where we just kind of laid down and took a nap, and it was great. So from that standpoint, there was a lot of happiness. The last day we went to Miami and just experienced what Miami has to offer. The fishing we did was in the Keys. So that was very happy what's been happening here.
And this was somewhat last minute, or was planned
Oh no,
several
this has
months
been
ago?
planned quite a long time.
And you do this every now and again, or?
Not that particular thing. This is a group of guys that have been doing something one long weekend a year for 35 years. Sometimes it's just going to one of our cottages or our places up north. Sometimes it's something bigger, going on a houseboat, or this one went doing this.
And really not to pry, but some of them may have known some of the situation that you have found yourself in the last.
Oh yes,
So
oh yes.
They also knew that.
These were complete church outsiders, and I knew they wouldn't know anybody or connect with anybody, so I shared a lot of the stuff that was going on here.
So just some really good, you know, when you release stuff, this is the relief and be able to confide in people that you trust.
Right. That can, that know me, that know who I am, and know how things happened and how I should feel about it.
And all over really good food and
Well, what's
free
interesting
time.
is one of the places down there, you can catch the fish and then just bring it to the place and they'll cook it for you. It's a half off cost for the meal if you provide the fish to them. That was great. They gave you 5 options of the way to cook it.
And in real life, you're a fisherman anyway. Or you fish because you're with a group, so you enjoy it that way, or?
I would say the earlier part of my life was way more into fishing than I am now.
Okay.
We've had a place up north for years. My parents had it. They gave it to my brothers and I. And the fishing there was really good 25 years ago, and it kind of stinks now. So that kind of influences your attitude about it.
All right, I'm going to stop you.
Just for fun now.
I'm going to stop
sorry
you.
that you-
The observer this
You walk
time,
out on the dock and just throw it.
so the one that
Yes,
said nothing.
periodically I'll do that, yeah.
That's still-
Go back to focus note 5 and ask those 4 questions of the group. Okay, lead that discussion. So if you were the observer this time, go back to the discussion questions and ask those same 4 questions about this scenario this time.
How do I feel like the listeners reflected the speaker's experience?
The way the first question was is how did the listener feel reflecting the speaker's
Yeah, you're looking
experiences?
at this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Focus
So
note
I
5.
think that's what it's trying to say, how did the listener feel,
Yes.
not how you feel the listener feels.
How did Don feel about what, I know, it's confusing.
They're trying to twist it.
Yes, how did the
Yeah.
listener
you're
feel?
asking,
Then
I have to
Steve
say,
will
right?
talk about how he
Yeah.
felt as the speaker.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, I felt in such a way that I wanted to join you.
And the family's
I
jealous.
don't mean that
in
that
those
way, but,
few
yeah, I could
moments.
tell that,
Really?
I'm gonna use the wrong word because I don't have a lot of words, but I have empathy, like, I would like to have been in your shoes there. I understand possibly what you've been going through, I get that, and I can understand the relief and the time away, and the blessing that is,
Yeah.
you know, and
The timing of it was perfect.
and how you were saying, exactly, hey, couldn't ask it, right? That's all about this timing anyway, right? So, yeah, yeah, it was fun to hear you say. I like to live through I enjoy living through other people's vacations. You know, just like it's a little extra, you know, you hear.
Well, you could hear something that you might wanna do someday
Exactly,
too.
yeah, there's always a bucket list, especially all the more you see the days drawing near. And that's not the ultimate day drawing near, but the short-term ones, you know, we get a little older in life and some time or extra nickels in the bucket or whatever.
Right, right, exactly.
Obviously, Steve's excited to tell us and to share that with us, and I can enjoy that also with you.
Yeah, for sure.
I
It
really
was
could.
inviting, I could
Sure.
see that too.
Yeah, on the flip side of that, me being the speaker, you being interested, it's easier to tell the story and elaborate a little bit. I mean, if you're talking to somebody that isn't paying attention, you don't wanna go through all the elaborations, you wanna kinda just go through it and then move on to something else, right?
I really have 10 more questions, right? And that helps as you're telling the story.
Exactly, right,
Draws you-
exactly,
Yeah.
totally.
I'm glad I've done better, huh?
Yeah. You said the mechanics.
You were actively listening.
I was trying to be, I mean, I was listening, but I was trying to follow the rules of what I was supposed to do, that's hard.
Yeah,
But
see,
sometimes I'm just natural, you know, it's like, I say, you really need to do this.
Well, this feels forced a
well,
little, right?
I think it's important that you learn things in Stephen ministry, but you still have to be yourself. You don't need to just go back, oh, it's telling me I gotta do this. Be yourself.
Yep.
I agree. And you can't sit like this all night, you know,
No,
I just can't,
no.
you gotta know when that's the appropriate
Right.
thing, you know? I'm still, you guys don't know this, but Reverend Wolf, when he was the pastor years and years ago, at the end of the sermon, he'd lean over the pulpit and he'd just sit like this, and so it's like, okay, he's reaching out to you, just telling you that, and sometimes I just wanna pastor to just lean on that pulpit.
And do that again?
And do that again, and you know, that's over 45 years ago, like, you don't forget it, you know what I mean, you don't forget that. But that's when, cause he had a stern voice too, but that's when he got quiet and he told it, you know.
Kinda drew you in.
Yeah, do you really love the Lord? Does he, you know, based on his, you know, and I don't feel that.
Just a side note, I mean, we're all getting there. It's so much. Is that me? What was I like back then, right?
See, the other thing is, you know, that work.
So that would have given you more
I'm 58, so who cares, but,
opportunity
you know,
to ask.
you have memories that are 50 years old now.
Yeah.
I mean, you really do, you know? The other day I saw, we always, you know,
Exactly.
Jeff,
Right,
Yeah, let me reflect for a
we
second.
swear, he didn't clean, you know, and we didn't know Jeff.
Could you
Our
pause
family
so I
did.
can-
Yeah.
He showed up.
Minute. This is a textbook right now.
And you would have never bought it. And then we think Jeff was.
I know, I just said to that group too, some of this feels forced, but it helps you, you know, what you're noticing about what you did is what's important, right? What you're noticing about what you did is important, exactly,
And
exactly.
if I didn't see just the other day Captain Kangaroo and Mr. Green Juice, and I haven't seen Mr.